So it is another full roster of sporting action this weekend. Amajita officially registering their first victory at the Under-20 FIFA World Cup in Chile. The Proteas Women take on England in their World Cup opener this afternoon. And of course, the Springboks have an opportunity to retain the Rugby Championship this weekend. And also quarterfinal spots up for grabs this weekend in the Carling Knockout. To talk about this, we've roved in sport journalist, a commentator, as well as analyst Khanyiso Tshwaku. Khanyiso, a very good morning to you as always. Thank you so much for your time.
Good morning, very good morning to the viewers.
I want to start our conversation just speaking on Amajita and the convincing 5-0 victory against New Caledonia yesterday. And I mean, coming into this encounter, a lot of people, of course, expecting the victory from South Africa. But let's talk to the performance of the team. I mean, we saw the likes of Magidikiti, we saw the man of the match in Mfundo Vilagazi, just really giving a good performance. Do you see this Amajita team getting out and making it into the knockout stages of the competition?
Look, on evidence of the performance against France in particular, they do stand a good chance. Look, the US game won't be easy. And again, it boils down to, again, a particularly South African thing of the team taking the chances. 5-0 could have been 6-7-0 earlier this morning. But look, they've won, they've got 3 points, they've erased a goal difference issue. So it's just a case of rocking up for the next game, the final group game against the US, and making sure that they get points out of it. And probably then the possession to the next group stage won't be difficult. But look, I mean, we've got a fair bit of talent that's actually walking through their team. I think that France game, probably they'll feel that they would have let themselves down a wee bit, especially with the lack of conversion of the chances. But one should feel that the US game is one that's there to be won.
Indeed, I mean, you look at South Africa coming up against the USA. That encounter will, of course, be on Sunday at 10 p.m. But let's talk to then another national team. We're moving on into cricket now in terms of the women's senior national team. They've done all the preparations they could have done coming into this World Cup. They kickstart their campaign against England. Speak to me about the expectations in that encounter and just what you make of the preparations of the team ahead of this opening encounter against England.
Look, I mean, Michael Mashimbi's side is probably prepared as well as they could, but looking for the very, very tough England side. They've only won 2 out of the past 8 ODIs against England. So already that's not a great record to be walking into, but it is a World Cup. It's going to be interesting to see if the weather holds. It looks like the monsoon has not retreated as quickly as one would have thought. I mean, I took a quick glimpse at the India-West Indies game, which is in Ahmedabad, which is on the west coast of India. There, the weather's still a bit of an issue. Assam is on the east coast of India, and rain has seemed to be a bit of a problem. So let's hope that the weather will clear enough to get enough playing too. South Africa just needs to put together a perfect game. I think the one thing is that the batting has actually come together. We saw how well they batted in Pakistan. There has been a bit of a concern when it's come to the bowling. And if there's one thing that England do have is a very powerful batting lineup and a very well-balanced attack. So it's going to be interesting to see what South Africa do when they win the toss. I won't be surprised if they actually opt to bowl first. But also the evidence of how India and Australia actually went about their opening games, batting first does seem to do the trick.
Okay, we're wrapped up cricket. Let's move on into rugby, another national team, and it's a big one because the Springboks have an opportunity tomorrow to retain the Rugby Championship title. Speak to me about Coach Rassie Erasmus's team going into tomorrow's encounter, and also just the benefit of knowing that New Zealand-Australia game is earlier on in the day.
It boils down again to the importance of that big win last week, because what that big win did set up a points difference of plus 55. That means New Zealand need to win big and then hope that Argentina does them a favor. Yes, New Zealand have 14 points. They can move to 19 with a bonus point win. But South Africa if they win, they move to 19. They already have a significant points difference. So they did themselves a huge favor with that 67-30 win. Look, it's straightforward. Just get out to Twickenham and get the points and actually win the rugby championship. So they did themselves a huge favor last week with that big point win. Look, also if New Zealand don't win, Australia win, effective South Africa will have one hand on that trophy, then it just becomes a point of what do they do against Argentina. But look, Rice again, not making many changes to his team to ensure that there's continuity. I mean, when you've got a tournament to win, it's a trophy to defend. You don't need to veer away much from what's worked last week. I mean, how do you drop such a fine level after the 37-point performance? So sticking to what he has, it's actually probably should work out for Erasmus.
All right, and we're certainly hoping it does. And I mean, you mentioned it would have to be a big margin victory for New Zealand in order for them to get one over the Springboks. But quickly, as we wrap up with you, curling knockout action coming up this weekend. We know on Saturday, which is tomorrow, SABC Sport will be showing 3 fixtures. The Orlando Pirates Siwelele game, Golden Arrows up against Kukuni, as well as Mamelodi Sundowns and Maruma Gallants. But tonight, we started off with Durban City taking on Polokwane City. That one also live on the SABC. What do you make of the opening round of this curling knockout action?
A very tasty draw. This is a very, very tasty draw. I think I won't be surprised if today's game actually goes down to penalties, because those are very evenly matched sides. We'll have to think also the Orbit College Test Galaxy game is another game that may go down to penalties. But I wouldn't be surprised if actually the big 3 in particular actually proceed to the next round. I know that I want to look at Chiefs' current form at the moment, especially with Sunday's game, and say that Chiefs' actually form is not looking great. If there's one team they've been able to beat and beat quite consistently, it is Stellenbosch FC. Stellenbosch FC hasn't exhibited that kind of form that made them quite a fearsome side over the past 3 seasons. But look, it is cup football, and anything and everything can happen.
Indeed, Khanyiso, always a pleasure chatting to you. Thank you so much for your time this morning. That was Khanyiso Tshwaku. Of course, he is a sports journalist, analyst, as well as commentator, as well archer at the SABC. A reminder once again, you can catch the Durban City, Polokwane City encounter live on the SABC this evening in terms of your curling knockout action.